This is an Audio Wool original.
This episode of Frightday is brought to you by Spring-Heeled Jack Coffee. You need great coffee. Jack delivers. Visit springhieldjack.coffee.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you'd like to support us, go to patreon.com/frightday.
So you'll be really proud of me, Byron. Are we recording?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, You're going to be really proud of me. Listen to this. Woke up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Couldn't go back to sleep, was reading the news.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
And then I said, Sam!
No, don't.
I'm almost positive that this town with that crazy SUV that just mowed people down, I'm almost positive that's Slenderman Town.
Waukesha?
And Sam's like, ooh. I'm almost positive it is. And I looked it up and it was. And I was so proud of myself because, Byron, that means I listened to something you said.
Is that all for you?
Want some?
No, but it's like 5 portions of charcuterie, but in a plastic tray. A meat and cheese tray. It's not on a piece of wood, though.
No time for that shit today.
No. It is Frightday. I'm your host, Byron. And longtime listeners of this program know it wouldn't be a proper Frightday holiday season kickoff if Kelly didn't talk turkey at least once during the month of November.
Yes!
It also wouldn't be appropriate if I didn't give you something to be bummed about while adding that extension leaf to your dining room table before Thanksgiving dinner. Today you're getting a bit of both. It's a Turkey Day Byron Ruins a Celebration Extravaganza. Whoo!
Well, given that, I feel like I am going to need to go first because mine is fun.
Okay, sure, why not?
And if I try to do mine after you, it's going to just take the steam out of me.
Yeah, your soul will be nowhere to be seen.
Yep. Yeah.
What you got there?
Qumran, Israel, 1947.
Oh no, is that the sound of ancient aliens?
20 miles east of Jerusalem.
How do you know
At
that?
this ancient
Greek,
site,
I'm a production guy, you know.
God damn it. Fine.
Wait, why? It was supposed to be a big reveal?
Yeah. It was supposed to be a big reveal.
Okay, in what sense?
Byron, we're headed to Turkey.
Well, of course we are.
Well, no. Sometimes we talk about, we've made some really tenuous connections over
That
the years.
is true. We've talked to cryptids. We've talked about the first people to ever set foot on this continent, right? Mm-hmm. Pilgrim.
Nasty.
Incredible fashion
Terrible
sense.
humans.
Buckles for days.
Why don't you have a line of pilgrim clothing since you love them so much?
Well, that's not a bad idea.
I feel like maybe that's the thing that's been missing for you.
My Puritan look?
Yeah.
All right.
Over the years, I've gotten periodically biblical.
One time we even ruined Christmas.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
It's exciting.
One of the things that we haven't gotten into, which actually doesn't make sense when I think about it, because it's a fusion of mysteries and the Bible, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Why have we not talked about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Do you know why we haven't talked about the Dead Sea Scrolls?
I don't know why we haven't talked about the Dead Sea Scrolls. With a name like that, I'm even interested.
Yeah, so once I realized that this was something that needed to be discussed, it was too late for me to try and take this entire program myself.
Well, yeah.
We're not going to really talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls today, but we're going to talk about something that people have theorized based upon the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Skulls. You see, that was like a Freudian slip.
Yeah,
the Dead Sea Scrolls, because that hypothesis is going to take us straight to Turkey.
All signs point to Turkey.
All signs always point to Turkey.
In November.
Yes. Remind me, Byron, when we did our Ruin Christmas thing, I presented my, Jesus was an alien theory, didn't I?
That was a long time ago. Episode 190, The Christ Conspiracy, is what we called it.
Man, I really wish... You're supposed to have a memory for these things.
It's where you hypothesize the potential genesis of the concept of Jesus Christ?
Well, one of those points that I hypothesized was that he was an alien. Okay?
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I didn't even realize this, but they weren't found until quite a long time after I realized they were found. I figured that they were found like a long, long, long time ago, but they were only found in 1947. Isn't that interesting?
It is kind of interesting.
Byron, tell me what you know about the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Very
just,
little.
just to do a quick summary, because like I said, we're not going to really go into them that much, but we do need to talk about them briefly.
Religious manuscripts.
Yes.
Did they find them in a cave?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what they said.
Palestine.
Okay, Jewish.
Yep. We're not going to get into that today.
Oh.
It was near the West Bank that they were found.
That makes sense.
1947. They date back to the 3rd century BCE, okay? And the 1st century CE. Those always confuse the shit out of me. Archaeology, big bragging rights from that field comes from Dead Sea Scrolls. That was, it changed a lot. Thousands of written pieces belonging to these Dead Sea Scrolls. Almost all of them are in Hebrew, some Aramaic, which is fun because that shows up in a lot of like possession things, right?
Sure.
I'm pretty sure, isn't it The Exorcist? The stuff that shows up in The Exorcist, isn't that Aramaic?
It's been a very long time, and that's not the part I care about usually. It's like the crab walking downstairs and the vomit.
That is really fun. I agree. The ironic part about it was a shepherd who found him.
Oh.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Kind of full circle type of deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff contained within these Dead Sea Scrolls, but we have a connection to a landmark in Turkey and a gentleman who may or may not have driven a contraption up to the top of that mountain.
Are we talking those like trucks with high suspension that try to climb rocks?
Kind of. Actually, very similar. We're talking about Noah's Ark.
Oh, that guy. Sorry,
Yeah.
different. It's a different one.
I mean, it's a similar concept.
Kinda. Less cool.
Well,
I'm gonna say it.
you think it's less cool?
Yeah, dude, a 4x4 ripping up rocks?
I mean, I think that the whole flood myth and how pervasive that is to all... Well, okay. But, I mean, I think that it's important.
Okay.
Someday we will talk about flood myths, too, because those are super
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. I mean, I think we probably roll into a little bit of Nephilim territory as well, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Nephilim, they just pop up anywhere. Nephilim, Atlantis, they're like catch-alls for like, oh, we can't explain it. We're going to throw those ones into the story.
Of course.
Which I don't mind, honestly. I feel
know
like that
you
works
don't.
out just fine. There are people, and now I don't read Hebrew nor do I read Aramaic, so I'm afraid that in terms of this discussion, it is going to be all reliant on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and Bibliotheca Pleiades sources.
Oh, no.
But there are people who theorize that based on components within the Dead Sea Scrolls, it is believed that the Ark was a UFO and Noah was an alien.
I'm going to just cue the Ancient Aliens theme song now again.
I'm trying to remember, what does that theme song even sound like?
It's vaguely Christmas. That's kind of fun.
It actually does sound super Christmassy.
Huh.
So, there are people who believe that there's proof in there that, yes, it does involve the Nephilim, and Noah was a leader in the alien race.
If Noah was an alien, what kind would he be?
So, it does get a little fuzzy, and there are some differences of opinion here.
Fuzzy, like tall gray with a beard?
But, no, but that would be amazing. Based on what I can understand, I don't think he had a beard. I think the idea was that...
That would have been more of the, what is the other one? The Norwegians?
The Nordics.
Nordics,
yeah, which I think is probably more along those lines. But again, this also could just be another really creepy whitewashing of history, because if Noah did exist, just like if Jesus did exist, definitely wasn't white.
Darker skin,
yeah,
for sure.
I mean, yeah. But if we imagine him as a Nordic, he was white, possibly with a bluish tint, depending on your interpretation of the Nordic visuals.
Uh-huh.
And there are people who believe that at the top of Mount Ararat is indeed
The Ark.
the Ark. And there is actually, it's called the Ararat Anomaly, which is what is used to describe it. When you look at pictures, it does kind of take the shape. I mean, it's a little bit like the face on Mars, right? But it takes the shape of perhaps an ark.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, what?
No, just in general. Like, this reminds me of something that's frequently talked about on QAnon Anonymous. They follow a guy who started something called Mud Fossil University.
Wait, what?
He likes to, like, look at Google Map images, entire regions, mountain ranges, and say that looks like a dragon. So that's a large fossil of a dragon. That a dragon took up like a 1/64th of the Earth, and they kind of walked around like giant titans.
1/64 of the Earth.
I'm just saying, like, you're looking at maybe I might be exaggerating.
Are you
but
exaggerating?
Maybe a bit, but massive, like entire ranges were apparently living things that died and became fossilized. But this is kind of a small version of that, I guess.
I guess
I'm
so.
looking at a mountain that looks vaguely like
there could be an ark there.
on top of it. Yeah.
But what's weird is people have gotten so into this that there were like FOIA requests from some professor, the work of some professor in Virginia.
Sure.
The Defense Intelligence Agency has gotten involved and made official statements on it. The DIA actually said it shows linear facades in the glacial ice underlying more recently accumulated ice and snow. But to me, the idea that the DIA even spoke about it just seems really random and weird.
Well, it wasn't just us, right? It's like the Russians.
Yep.
2003.
Totally.
They went on an expedition.
Expedition.
Uh-huh.
No, but really, it may be on Mount Ararat. It's difficult to say. There is a group called the Institute for Creation Research. And in 2020, they actually said it hasn't been found. Now, this could be because they don't want to believe that it's in Turkey.
Where do most creationists believe the Ark is?
I don't know. Honestly, I get really lost when it comes to creationists because I don't know if you're familiar or if you have close friends who believe this angle of things, but like dinosaur bones, for example.
Yeah.
The explanation is that they are red herrings placed.
Test our faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all red herrings.
Well,
And so-
I heard Jesus rode a velociraptor, kind of like Chris Pratt does in those Jurassic World movies.
Oh.
At least that's what my governor, Greg Gianforte, says.
He does. In fact, he funded a museum.
Yeah,
so that
Creation
he can
Museum.
share that with
So
people.
cool. I hang out in the ball pit there.
Catch all the diseases.
Great gift shop.
But there are evangelists in America who buy into this Mount Ararat idea.
Yeah.
There are people who have even gone there hunting for it, but it is considered, and this is not fair to my friends, but it is considered in the realm of pseudoscience with Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster.
You didn't need to say that, especially right after our interview with Seth.
I know. Well, that's why I said it hurts my heart. Those two, you know my beliefs on
I do.
those.
I'm familiar.
There are people who believe that our government and Turkey's government, potentially Russia's government as well, know exactly where the Ark is, and they are suppressing that information because, the cabal, deep state, Illuminati, reptilian, JFK coming back to save us.
The elite bloodline, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very familiar. Too familiar.
Yeah. All of it centers around this interesting mountain in Turkey, Mount Ararat.
This is, can I say it now?
Yes, you can say
Fucking
it.
nuts.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Wait, how many boats have been made throughout history? Why would this one make a lasting impression? They're made of fucking wood.
yeah.
And
I mean,
other stuff. Like, why?
Well, I'll tell you what, if it was actually an alien ship, it
Okay,
would
so it'd
probably
be made of
last
something
longer.
else, yeah, or made more sturdy. Maybe it could have some sort of sealant or something that protects the wood frame of a
That is right.
massive ship that held two of every animal.
So the conspiracy theories surrounding this idea really exploded when a gentleman named David Aronofsky released a movie all about Noah.
Talking about Darren Aronofsky?
Did I say?
You said David.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, you were thinking of the religious David.
Yeah, I was. When a gentleman named Darren Aronofsky released a movie about Noah, which, when you take a step back and you think about it, it's a little bit weird because the movies he has done,
I wouldn't have thought that
it's the
he did
odd
that.
man out, right?
Huh.
So we've got Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, no, you're not saying he's a modern day Stanley Kubrick, are you? Oh, no, I can see the look on that face. Holy shit. A man who brought us Requiem for a Dream and Mother!
And The Fountain. Have you seen The Fountain?
Haven't
that's
seen
a
it.
super interesting, trippy, like alternative history idea.
No, I wasn't into that stuff back then. Romance sci-fi films when I was fresh out of high school? I don't know.
So there were some Christians super pissed about Noah.
Okay.
I don't know that that's as much worth going into because it's all about like the Old Testament versus New Testament
Oh, wow, so
spins.
boring.
And I know. I mean, Old Testament God is a lot scarier. New Testament God is a lot
A little
chiller.
bit nicer, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely had to rebrand
Of course, and they're still doing it actively
actively.
because, you know what, got to get those numbers up.
Yes. It was starring Russell Crowe,
Mm-hmm.
another interesting character.
I feel like he's got to be.
I don't think he's Jesus-y.
He gives me the vibe.
No, you just think that because you think that this must be like Mel Gibson. People always associate those two.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But
Well, he talked about the Australian brush fires during his Golden Globe speech. Talked about climate change.
yeah,
So
he's not too crazy. Aronofsky really isn't either. So trying to understand why Aronofsky came out with this movie is interesting. And my favorite theory is that he was trying to give us some information about the bloodline of the Watchers and the idea that Noah was near the start of this bloodline. I don't know if you're aware biblically of where Noah supposedly popped up in the bloodline, but Adam and Eve, 3 kids, Cain, Seth, and Abel.
Yep.
Seth had Noah.
Seth's son was Noah.
So basically, Noah's grandparents supposedly were Adam and Eve.
Wow.
Right?
I mean, that's pretty
Pretty
close.
Pretty close to the source point, right? But this movie starts out, okay, with little Noah watching his dad, Seth,
Okay.
get killed by a descendant of Cain.
Blasphemy.
So, Cain and Abel, they didn't get along so well either.
Yeah.
Fratricide there. But,
yeah.
But yeah, people were really upset because they felt like this was a misinterpretation.
It's called taking artistic liberties,
Well,
okay?
I guess,
Come on.
especially when you're doing a biblical movie, you got to juice stuff up a little bit.
It's boring. Well, actually, it's not always boring.
Those who were really off the deep end about this idea believe that the reason this was twisted around a little bit is because Noah, in fact, was a hybrid between the gods / watchers / Anunnaki
People aren't done with
and
their
the humans,
ancient Greek mythology.
which would make Noah very much a Nephilim.
Hercules.
Hercules. Do you know how much I love that movie?
I do. You've talked about it maybe 5, 6, 7 times
Emperor's
on the
New
show.
Groove is a little bit better, though.
You usually say that next.
Yeah, do I? Is that my pattern?
God.
In the movie, after Noah's dad gets killed, there's a very weird sacrificial thing going on.
Huh.
There's an ancient snake skin, which was supposedly the snake skin passed down from
Adam
Adam
and
and
Eve,
Eve.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I didn't know that they killed the snake.
I was unaware.
I thought that
They
was
usually
like...
tune out once the whole...
I thought the devil was still kicking, so I don't know how they have his snake skin.
Devil takes many forms, Kelly.
Okay, but the conspiracy is that the passing of the snake skin is symbolic
Original
of the
sin,
hybrid.
maybe?
No, the
sorry.
hybrid connection.
The original
okay?
skin is what I was thinking.
And why would it be a snake skin? Because reptilians. Reptilians.
Wow.
Okay.
Are the reptilians the enemy of this hybrid species, or
No, the reptilians are part of the lineage of this hybrid species.
Okay. All right. All right. Traditionally, they just don't get along very well with anyone else.
Well, neither do humans. You notice that?
Wow. Would you look at that?
Yeah. Maybe that's where we get it. The apple doesn't fall far from the Adam and Eve tree near the snake of the...
You're really doing your best, is what I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah,
sure.
I felt like that was really good.
Well, good.
Okay,
for
so
you.
these crazy people, these people who believe this go one step further, okay? If you're into any kind of religious theory and you start looking at Hinduism, Buddhism, specifically the practice of yoga within those religions, there is a theory subscribed to by the same people who are pushing this idea of Noah being a descendant and the Nephilim. These people say that Kundalini yoga is a worship of serpents and therefore a worship of Satan himself, and that those are a different lineage of direct descendants from the reptilians.
What?
Yes.
I don't even know where to start.
Okay, so let's see.
You're bringing the snake up?
I guess, or there is a snake pose.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff looks a little snaky, I guess.
Man, I just don't know enough about that.
I agree, but there have been serpent rituals according to
There's a lot of images of snakes when I'm flipping through here.
Nagas. They're called Nagas very frequently,
Serpent
like water
represents
snakes.
the
we could
nerve
wrap this
channel.
back into Nessie if we really wanted to,
No,
but we're not
I'm
going
just
to.
gonna say
We're not going to.
skip it.
Nope.
Chakras. Yeah.
Love those chakras. So up to 70,000 years ago in Africa, there were ritual worshipping of serpents. Okay, so that was a thing that happened. There is obviously a discussion of serpents in the Bible, always associated with the negative rather than the positive, right? Which is exactly what one organization would say if they were trying to, win everybody over to their side, excommunicate or put an end to this other lineage of religious beliefs. But the idea is that we've got one reptilian offspring, okay, that is being represented in the movie Noah because it's bad the way that they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Versus the traditional Christian interpretation of Noah. And if we go to the crazy side of it, that like, no, these are like the descendants of God and Nephilim and all the good things, okay? The idea that the snakeskin is being passed, the idea that we have this sacrifice near the beginning of the movie, and then the Watchers themselves, okay? The Watchers, another name for...
The Eternals.
What are the Eternals?
The Marvel characters.
Oh, right. I haven't watched that yet.
I
Is it
haven't
any
seen
good?
it. I heard it wasn't great.
It probably isn't. But no, the Watchers are like the Anunnaki.
Oh, okay.
They may have been the true creator versus capital G to the OD.
Careful.
Well, no, I'm saying according to...
I know.
Yeah, according to this, all right. And the way that they say Noah is being portrayed in this movie is much more of like a Mad Max tilt on things and a free-for-all godless approach to history that is much more representative of the Watchers and alien interference than it is of the biblical.
Can't Darren just have some fun?
I could not find any interviews that Darren gave talking about any of the foundational...
Religious elements of Noah.
Yeah, which, I mean, okay, like, it's nothing but a religious movie, right?
Yeah, but it isn't everything.
No.
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 Yeah.
Requiem for a Dream is not a religious
I
movie.
guess you're probably right.
I'm going to go ahead and just say that. Black Swan is not a religious movie.
I bet there's an allegory somewhere
So
in there.
both of those are movies about paranoia, like very
Yeah,
significant
that's true.
paranoia.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, he's a full-blown atheist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird to
So
pick
how
that.
does a fucking atheist make
Noah?
Noah?
They call it the least biblical film ever made.
Which is just weird.
That's very
It is
strange.
really weird. And it does lead me to believe, it's funny that you actually kind of just said this already. A little bit jumped the gun. But it does seem potentially like a Kubrick of our age. Except he's still alive.
Well, for now.
Okay. So here's what I would like to propose, Byron. For some type of Behind the Screams upcoming, because I know that you have...
Russell Crowe explored Scientology.
So he's an atheist.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, bringing that around. Interesting. So because I have more that I would like to talk about with this, I'm proposing that on a Behind the Screams in the next few weeks,
Yep.
that I can actually give a little bit more information about whether Darren Aronofsky is part of the Turkish-rooted plot to defile the biblical image of Noah and replace him with a reptilian, alien-rooted origin story.
Now that's a thesis I'll allow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you okay with
sure.
it?
Into it.
What we're going to have to do, both of us, in order to like do this whole situation
You're going to give me
justice.
homework after I agree to it? Mm-hmm.
I am. We both have to watch.
We have to watch Noah? God damn it.
I mean, but it ties into the stuff you were talking about because like the Watchers were supposedly giants.
Sure.
Okay, so I don't know if they took up 1/64th of the earth or not, but you know, we can get into the specific numbers there. I think it's going to tie into things that you like already. I think we're going to be all right with
Well,
it.
we'll have fun with that.
Okay.
You ready to have some more fun?
No, I'm actually like really trying to find something else that I can talk
Nope,
about
I feel
related
like
to
you're-
this
I
so that
feel
I
like you're
don't have to go
stretching,
in.
yeah.
I really don't want to go into it.
Well, let's take a quick peek, Kelly.
Did you know that there's a really weird animal skeleton found in
Stop.
Turkey recently this week?
Fire emergency.
Please don't talk this listen. I'm sorry.
Today they found the bodies of at least 3 young boys, 6 more bodies under the John Gacy house in
One longtime acquaintance describes Dahmer as one weird dude.
Stay tuned for Byron's Serial Corner.
Let's take a quick peek at this community corkboard real quick. Gingerbread architecture, the sweet elements of design. That's fun.
What?
St. Mary's Catholic Church Bazaar. Oh. Carnegie Library Preschool Story Time. And ahead of the community Thanksgiving dinner in Upsula, St. Gabriel's Health is doing a class on raising an intuitive eater. It's pretty cool.
Oh my God, I could really use that for Puckwudgie.
Well, it appears residents of Little Falls, Minnesota, by all accounts your typical rural Midwest small town, are settling nicely into the holiday season. Turkeys purchased, dinner invitations offered to friends and family, intuitive eating lessons considered. But 9 years ago, Thanksgiving 2012, the family of Haley Kiefer and her cousin Nicholas Schafel, probably saying that wrong, got worried when the two didn't show up. Late was something they'd become accustomed to, but to skip it entirely was out of character and concerning.
Well, yeah.
Byron David Smith.
Oh, boy. Well, we know he's the bad guy. You don't even have to say much else.
He's named Byron. Hey, it's rude.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to eat some lukewarm room temperature
meat
right
I
now.
see that. 64 years old, born and raised in Little Falls. He served in the Vietnam War, and when he came home, became a security expert for the State Department, working overseas at several different U.S. embassies. Having retired, he moved back into the home his parents had left him after they passed. 14319 Elm Street.
No way.
Yeah, the spookiest street.
Wait, what year is this?
2012.
I thought maybe it was an origin story for Nightmare, but clearly not.
No,
This happened way after.
Absolutely not. Most described him as a hermit, acting strangely, suspiciously solo, with but a few friends who broke through his antisocial shell. Byron's home had been burglarized, reportedly 6 times over several months, something these neighbor friends can corroborate. But nothing of significance was taken. At this point, he started decorating his property and home with multiple no trespassing, keep out, private property signs. Still, he didn't bother contacting the police until one particularly brazen break-in where a panel of his basement door was kicked in. I'm going to have some pictures of this whole situation in the show notes of this episode of Frightday.com.
The kicked-in door? The
kicked-in
brazenly kicked-in door?
Yeah, and a couple other things. The perpetrators took reportedly thousands of dollars worth of stuff, including some with sentimental value, some old coins, a nice camera that Byron had spent a lot of time and money to fix up, and what worried him most, some guns were gone. Maybe the repeated thieves would now return armed. It was around the middle of October that Byron installed cameras somewhere between 4
It is so freaking weird listening
to hear
you
me
talk
say
about yourself
Byron.
in the third person.
Well, it's not
really
me.
Weirding me out.
I want to say right now, this is not me, just because I found a guy with my first name. Middle of October, Byron installed cameras in his house, I think 4 or 5, at the advice and with assistance of a sheriff's deputy named Jamie Luberts, which seems kind of odd that he didn't do it earlier, considering he was a security expert. I don't know which kind of security he was in when he was working for the government, but with the State Department, but...
Yeah, there are a lot of different directions it could go.
Still, you would think
Could
it would be
physical security, could be digital security, could be...
But either way, you'd think it'd be a priority.
Oh, yeah.
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 The weeks following the installation, Byron would spend a majority of his time sitting at home. Don't shake your head, because
It's so weird.
monitoring his cameras on his computer. Even though he was a security expert, I am envisioning a Dell. He claimed that every time he left, he got robbed. He even refused to go to his neighbor's house on Thanksgiving, which was something he'd done every year since he had returned to Little Falls. Instead of stuffing himself with cranberry sauce and mashed potatoes, watching TV on the couch with his neighbors, fighting the effects of tryptophan, he sat at his desk with his eyes on his computer screen, monitoring his cameras with a rifle resting next to him, propped until 2 young figures walked into frame. November 23rd, 2012, Black Friday. Byron places a call to a neighbor whom he actually befriended, a guy named Bill Anderson. He was looking for a good lawyer. Bill tried his best, couldn't get a hold of anyone. I mean, it was the day after Thanksgiving.
Was there, like, why he's
a
looking for a
reason?
good... Yeah.
Not expressed at the time.
So, like, just...
He said that he had blown the top off this whole burglary thing.
blown the top off.
Yeah. So Bill calls back. He couldn't find a lawyer. Then he was told that he should get in touch with a guy named Deputy Luberts, an officer who had helped him install those security cameras.
Why?
I don't know. Bill did it, called, but Deputy Luberts was unavailable, so they sent his identical twin brother, Sheriff Jeremy Luberts. instead.
Okay, that's very weird. Also, being a deputy for your twin brother, I could see that getting complicated.
Keep them both as deputies, at least, or co-sheriff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be weird, right?
Yeah.
The sheriff and his partner go to make contact with Byron, and Byron came out with his hands up, which was unexpected, made things feel weird immediately. Byron invited the sergeant and his partner in, and he walked them through the house. He pointed out a window that had been broken in, and then he takes the two downstairs into the basement, his old man cave. It had big bookshelves and a reading chair in the center. But as they descended, the sheriff saw some concerning things. He saw blood on the wall of the staircase, as well as a big pool at the base of the stairs, and a pair of youthful Nike shoes
Okay.
that had been
Youthful?
Well, I mean, not your mall walking type Nikes.
Okay, are we talking a toddler size?
No.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
like a youth. A teen?
But okay, see. Okay.
Approaching a closed door, Byron said, "The bodies are behind here."
Wow.
The bodies of two intruders that he admittedly shot dead the day before.
There have been bodies in his house for a full day, maybe more. And he's been calling around for a lawyer, but he never called, like, I don't know, an ambulance, like anything that would maybe make sure that if they had a chance to live, they could.
Well, we'll get there. Cousins Hallie and Nicholas, 18 and 17 years old, they hadn't had the easiest life. Troubled children programs, and they were just that, troubled children. They suffered addiction problems and all the things that come along with that. They had been responsible for a string of burglaries in the town of Little Falls. All that aside, though, friends and classmates remembered Haley and Nicholas as sweet and fun-loving. In fact, hundreds attended their joint visitation and funeral services. They started pouring in just after 9 a.m. and kept arriving even after the service started. At 10, cars spilled from the parking lot into a nearby field and lined both sides of the road across the church. It was estimated, I think, somewhere around 500 people at this. But back to that brutal Black Friday. Byron Smith was taken into custody on second-degree murder. He actually waived his Miranda rights and spoke openly about what happened, according to him.
This is Sergeant Investigator Jeremy Liberts with the Morris County Sheriff's Office. And the date is 11/23/2012. The time right now is 14:59 hours. I'm currently in the interview room at the Morrison County Sheriff's Office, and currently present with me is Byron
David Smith.
Okay, hold on one second, Byron.
Okay.
Byron, can you tell me your full name, please?
Byron David Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And I live at 143.
Oh, hold on, Byron. Okay. What is your date of birth?
11 June 48.
So, before I ask you any questions in regards to the reason that led up to why you were placed under arrest was explained to you at the scene, is that correct?
Because there were bodies, and that's a good reason.
Okay, yes, and that was explained to you, that's why you were placed under arrest at that time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We got called out to your residence today, basically on some information that something might have happened at your house either today or yesterday.
More specifically, I called my good friend Bill Anderson, who is a neighbor,
okay,
and asked him to contact a lawyer. He wasn't able to. Apparently they're all busy today. The offices are closed.
Okay.
Since he was not able to contact a lawyer, I asked him to contact the Morrison County Sheriff's Department next.
Okay. You asked him to, Bill Anderson?
I asked him to call you.
Okay.
Bill is the only person I have shared the breaking and entering series with.
Okay.
As a neighbor, I feel it's important, and I trust him absolutely.
Okay.
I don't know the local lawyers very well. I
sure
have, almost nothing. But Bill seems to know everybody.
Okay. All right. Did you specifically tell Bill that you had maybe shot somebody that broke into your house or anything? Or?
No, but Bill knows that I was having a major problem and that I might do something.
Okay.
I had not gone to anyone for Thanksgiving. I am somewhat uncomfortable with other people's family holidays. Mm-hmm. Some people enjoy it and it helps them feel home-like. I feel like a little out of place. It's not the kind of social thing I do.
Okay.
So I was staying at home. And just because there wasn't anything big happening, I was in the basement in my favorite reading chair reading a paperback.
Mm-hmm. Was this on Thanksgiving Day? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
This would have been about 12 o'clock. The exact time on the videotape. I mean, on the DVR.
So, I'm sorry, 12 o'clock noon on
Yes.
Thanksgiving Day, which was yesterday, correct? Okay, on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, the house is a very quiet house. It's got electric heat, and it's a very quiet house. And I hear someone rattling the upstairs door by the garage where everybody comes and goes. This is wrong. You shouldn't be rattling doorknobs without at least ringing the doorbell first. So I set down the book and I'm paying attention. And the chair is between the bookshelves. And I see a shadow go past the picture window. Then somebody's rattling the basement door trying to get in. But it also is locked and deadbolted. And then I see the shadow in front of the picture window for maybe half a minute or a minute, like they're trying to see what they can see inside. Okay, this is getting unhappy. And then the shadow leaves, and I hear somebody walking across the deck. It's got the wooden planks, so you can hear people walk on it. And then somebody was rattling the upstairs door. And I'm getting seriously stressed because somebody wants in, and they're trying to sneak in, and it's happened before. So I'm sitting there hoping they go away. It's about a minute of silence. And I hear a glass window broken, which I later found to be the northwest corner bedroom window.
Okay. Where were you at the time in the house when you heard that?
I was sitting in the same chair.
In the basement?
In the basement.
Okay.
I consider it my reading chair. So I'm sitting in the chair. Now, for the past month, my life has been very unhappy. I haven't slept very well. In fact, I'm lucky to get one good night of sleep a month. And I'm keeping everything locked up all the time because I'm being victimized again and again and again. And in the past couple of weeks, I've gotten into the habit of carrying my guns with me inside my house because I don't know who's going to break in when. Well, it just happened. So I'm sitting there and I hear the steps come down the hallway, turn around and come down the stairs. These are people who've stolen my guns. I figure they're willing to use guns if they steal guns. And I decide that I've got a choice of either shooting or being shot. Which is sort of what I came to when I started carrying it with me. I've been, this past month I felt very threatened.
Okay.
Inside my own home.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy came down the stairs and I shot him.
Okay. When they, you said you heard the window break upstairs, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You were downstairs. You heard footsteps down the hallway, right?
Yep.
So that would be from the bedroom, and then whoever. Do you think somebody entered in your house through that broken window?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's how they made entry.
Because it was easier than the deadbolted doors.
Okay.
And I'd replaced the panel that had been easy to kick out.
Okay.
So he just decided to break a window instead. And maybe It's hard to judge the time. 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. I was just sitting there with the blood pounding in my ears. And I hear more footsteps coming down the hallway. And somebody else starts down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking back on it, what happened was everybody has red buttons. Everybody has sore spots. And I've known since grade school that being ganged up on is a sore spot with me. I just couldn't think. I didn't think. I wasn't thinking. I was just, they're ganging up on me. So I killed her too.
Okay.
Same way, except the first shot, she tumbled. And I walked over to finish her off. It was a new Mini 14 that I bought to replace the one that had been stolen. And it jammed. My main use for it is muskrats. They destroy the bank. And once in a while a beaver, they destroy the trees.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason I have it. It's a tool. And it had jammed out on the shoreline, which is why I had the 22 with me. It jammed, trigger clicked, and she laughed at me. I just pulled out the 22 and shot her and shot her.
Okay.
I sat down again, and I don't think I did anything else for an hour. One thing of importance, his shoes came off.
Okay.
His shoes, I kicked underneath the reading chair. They're still there.
Okay, do you know what kind of shoes they are?
I noticed, I checked the tread pattern on purpose. Whoever kicked in the door the previous time left their tread pattern on the door. And I brought it in to Jamie the following day.
Okay.
And he saved it in the evidence file. It had a sawtooth repeated pattern on the door. And that is characteristic of skateboard shoes.
Mm.
And I pointed it out to Jamie, pointing out as a piece of evidence that very few people under 30, very few people over 30 wear skateboard shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I like them because they're the best shoe for city hiking. So I showed him a pair, showed him the tread pattern, and I said, watch for this.
Okay.
The shoes that I kicked under the chair had that tread pattern.
Okay. So those were the same shoes that the mail party was wearing when he came into your house?
He was wearing them yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped off. I checked the tread pattern, and it looked to me to match the pattern on the door panel.
Okay. Okay. What was she wearing? Do you recall what she was wearing?
Yeah.
What was she wearing?
That was memorable. Tight black sweatshirt that said hard candy. When I saw that, I said, yeah, you're hard. And she is well known throughout the community as a hard case.
Okay.
Vandalism in Belle Prairie Park, etc., etc.
Now, you said you put both of them on the tarp and you drug both?
No, I dragged him in on the tarp.
Yes.
And then she came down later, and I dragged her onto the tarp afterwards.
Okay, yep, back.
It was mostly just to minimize the amount of blood in the carpet, but I'm going to replace the carpet anyway.
Okay, and then you drug her back in right by him, is that correct, the mail
yes.
party? Okay. And then,
shut the door so I didn't have to see him.
Okay, and that's where they both
that's where
were
you
at
found
when we came to your house and
Yep.
you pointed out to us, showed us that's where they were, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that I did about an hour later, put my fingers to the vein to see if it was pulsing. It wasn't.
On who?
Both of them.
Both of them? Okay.
I just, sitting there in the chair, okay, I don't want to do it, but I got to check.
Okay. I have to ask, Byron, after the shooting and it's done, why didn't you call law enforcement to report what happened?
For the first couple hours, I was just shaking. I was pretty much afraid to do anything. An hour later, I had the screwball thought that seems sort of irrational now, but just because my Thanksgiving screwed up, I don't need to screw up yours.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And he also brought up something called castle doctrine.
Oh, stand your ground, good old motherfuckers.
Well, actually, Minnesota doesn't have a stand your ground law where people may use deadly force when they reasonably believe it to be necessary to defend against deadly force, great bodily harm, kidnapping, rape, or robbery, or other serious crimes. But the state still applies the castle doctrine. This removes the duty to retreat if a person is threatened in his or her own home. Minnesota courts have decided that a person should not be required to retreat from his or her own home. Thus, in certain circumstances, you may use force, including deadly force, in self-defense when threatened in your own home. However, the castle doctrine, like other forms of self-defense, is only applicable in certain circumstances and is subject to limitations.
What are some of those limitations in this case, Byron?
The crime scene at Byron's house, the 9 bullets that were fired.
9.
The not calling the police until the next day. This was all giving authorities a feeling that Byron may have crossed the line of limitations. His own surveillance system showed him hiding his truck, parking it several blocks away, giving the illusion that he wasn't home, essentially setting up a trap.
Does this remind you of anything, babe?
You mean the case that happened locally where
Yeah.
a high school foreign exchange student in the in the South Hills broke into some guy's
Grant Creek, I
garage
think.
to take some beers out of a guy's refrigerator and was shot to death, murdered.
Yeah, but it was the same deal. He had kind of set up a trap.
Exactly.
Yep.
Even after parking his truck blocks away, he came home a different route and snuck in the back door. This was a trap, but it's what was found on an audio recorder discovered by investigators during a search that put his accounts into question. Planning, execution, as well as the aftermath. Disturbing evidence that would dramatically shift a suspicious, confusing case into focus. Wow. And I have some of that audio. I want to say this is some really heinous graphic stuff.
And if Byron's saying that, wow.
Bruce, stop by tomorrow morning. No rush, but as soon as convenient. Can you do that? Yeah. Park to the north. 100 yards north of the corner, and walk in from the west. I realize I don't have an appointment, but I would like to see one of the lawyers here.
As Nick Brady was descending down the stairs.
Is that actual audio of this?
Yeah.
Why is that public?
You're dead.
As Nick Brady was descending down the stairs, Byron raised his Ruger Mini 14 rifle, shooting Nick twice in the chest, falling face first down the remaining steps, and coming to rest at the base of the stairs. Nick is shot again, this time point blank in the head, covering the floor with his brain matter. You heard right, he did say, "You're dead." He then dragged the body onto a tarp that he had prepared and into an adjoining room. took a rug and covered up the blood and brain matter that was at the base of the stairs. Byron could be heard reloading his rifle, breathing deeply, and waiting. A few minutes later, Haley is heard following the unknowingly deadly footsteps of her younger cousin. As she approached, he again raised his rifle and shot, knocking her down.
Oh, sorry about that. You're dying. Bitch.
Less than 3 seconds after the first shot, he pulls the trigger again, but the gun jams. And he apologizes.
What a fucking psychopath.
He drew his .22 caliber sidearm and shoots Haley 4 more times.
So you shot, she came tumbling down the steps, and then you went to shoot again and the gun jammed, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what happened after that, after the gun jammed?
After the gun jammed, well, he fell with his head under the table. She fell immediately at the bottom of the steps. So you'll see 2 different patches of blood on the floor.
Okay.
And when the gun clicked, misfired, she laughed at me. And
when she was laughing at you, she was at the bottom of the steps on the floor?
It wasn't a very long laugh because she was already hurting. But, you know, there was this smirk. And, okay, there was another red button I guess most people would have. If you're trying to shoot somebody and they laugh at you, you go again.
So when she laughed at you, how did that make you feel? Did that infuriate you or make you upset? Or
I knew that the gun had misfired previously. Mm-hmm. I take care. It was partially empty.
Okay.
So the first round, there was not any, there wasn't a bullet in for the first time I pulled the trigger. And I normally keep it that way. It's a minor safety thing. I can always pull the trigger again.
Where were you aiming? Do you recall?
Probably at her heart.
Okay. Okay.
And then she stopped moving.
Did the gun go off when you were aiming at her heart?
Yes. Maybe the chest area. Well, I wasn't aiming that accurately. Okay. And I would guess there were about 4 shots.
Okay. With the .22 you're saying?
With the .22, yes.
Okay.
He then moved her to the tarp on top of her cousin.
She stopped moving. So I grabbed her by the clothing and dragged her over onto the tarp that was in the shop.
Okay.
That's where I left her.
When you shot her, you said 4 times. 1 was in the chest. Where were the other 3 rounds? Do you know?
I would assume they were nearby.
Near the chest, in the chest area, or
in the upper chest?
Okay. Did you shoot her in the facial area or head area at all? Do you recall?
After she was on the tarp, she was still gasping.
Okay.
And as much as I hate someone, I don't believe they deserve pain. So I gave her a punching shot under the chin up into the cranium.
Of course, I'm safe now.
Was she still at the bottom of the stairwell when that happened?
That was over in the shop.
Oh, that was in the shop?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought she was dead, and it turned out she wasn't.
Okay.
So I did a good, clean finishing shot.
Okay.
And She gave out the death twitch. First time I've ever seen it in a human, but it works the same in beaver and deer and whatever.
Okay.
As if the murder captured on audio wasn't horrifying enough, there's hours of him talking to himself and rehearsing what he was planning to say to police.
Is he schizophrenic?
What would lead you to believe that he's schizophrenic?
There's just such a... If he's talking that much to himself, that's a little weird. Also, the disconnect from reality, from the audio of that, just seems a little bit overwhelming.
I don't think he is saying anything that isn't happening, but his interpretation of what the repercussions should be is off. I think he's still very much present.
Yeah, I guess. I guess that's true.
I feel a little bit safer. Not totally safe. I'm still shaking a bit, but a little bit safer.
I don't feel good.
56 minutes after the murder, he could be heard saying,
"No rush, but, as convenient for you."
57 minutes. I'd left my house at 11:30. They were both dead by 1. An hour and 40 minutes later, I felt like I was cleaning up a mess.
Worse than spilled food. Worse than vomit. Worse than shit.
This band sounds crazy. This isn't like...
You're dead. A few minutes after that.
I am not a bleeding heart liberal. I felt like I was cleaning up a mess. Not like spilled food.
And I'm not repeating this out of...
Not like vomit.
He
repeated himself over and over again, yeah.
Not even like it. Not even like diarrhea. It's the worst mess possible. And I was stuck with it.
In some tiny little respect. In some tiny little respect. I was doing my civic duty. If the law enforcement system couldn't handle it, I had to do it. I had to do it. The law system couldn't handle her, and if it fell into my lap and she dropped her problem in my lap and she threw her own problem in my face, I had to clean it up. An hour and 46 minutes later.
They weren't human. I don't see them as human. I see them as vermin. Social mistakes.
Social problems. I don't see them as human. This bitch was going to go through her life destroying things for other people. Thieving, robbing, drug use. A couple hours later.
It's all fun, cool, exciting, and highly profitable until somebody kills you. It's begging to have him shoot me. That's like begging to have him shoot me.
You should see the rugs on the basement floor.
It's a sucker shot. People going down strange stairs naturally watch the steps.
Almost 5 hours after the murder, he says,
I'm sorry. So much regret. I try to be a good person. I try to do what I should, be friendly to other people, help them when I can. Try to be a good citizen, not cheat people, be fair. That family raises a bad person like this. And because I try to be a decent person, they think I'm a patsy. I'm a sucker. They think I'm there for them to take advantage of. Is that the reward for being a good person? And then they dump this mess on me. It's not a mess like spilled food.
It's not a mess like vomit.
It's not even a mess like diarrhea. It's
far worse.
take slice after slice out of me.
So, believe it or not, Kelly, this case sparked major debates on the castle doctrine, and of course, some of the loudest voices in support of it, as well as Byron's actions, were the folks at Fox News.
Fuck you, Fox News.
Sean Hannity supported Byron's actions on his program, citing...
I don't like what he said. They broke into the guy's house.
Yeah, but there's a big difference. This was a really tough case. There's a big difference. There was no question whether or not he did this and killed these teenagers. The big question was whether or not it was premeditated. There were things like he moved his pickup truck.
How could it be premeditated when they broke into his house?
He moved his pickup truck to try to bait them to come into his house.
To indicate that there was nobody there for when people burglarize you. They're not going to burglarize you if your car is in the driveway because they know. Look, the guy should get a Medal of Freedom for what he did. He protected himself. He had been victimized before. He was victimized.
Jesus.
He was victimized before.
What about the coup de grace?
The cops did not help him.
He walks over to the girl after she's shot. He puts the gun under her chin and blows her head off.
What about that? What if somebody?
What about that?
Wait a minute. What if somebody breaks into? Whoa! Somebody breaks into Geraldo's house. Same exact. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
If I shoot them, am I going to go there and then do the coup de grace? Am I going to shoot the kid, the girl, under the chin? Am I going to do that?
You know what? It's easy to say after the fact.
You shoot someone coming into your house, but then you go, they're laying there, obviously dying anyway, the teenage girl, and he puts the gun under her chin.
But you would shoot, wouldn't you?
He used excess
If someone
force.
came into my house, you're damn right I would shoot.
There you go. We win.
Force
You
was
over.
excessive.
You're becoming a right winger. You are becoming a right winger.
You're talking death wish here. That's what you're talking
All right,
about.
we got to roll.
Yeah, I mean, because Geraldo's kind of a dipshit, but he's not super fucking evil. He's not a good guy, don't get me wrong.
On April 30th, 2014, the jury needed only 3 hours to deliberate. When asked if Byron wanted to speak before his sentencing, he only said, "Thank you for the opportunity, Your Honor. I decline." Byron David Smith was found guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder with premeditation and on 2 counts of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Several appeals have been attempted, including one back in March. All of them have been denied. And Byron is spending this Thanksgiving and many, many more behind bars.
Wow. Yeah, that,
Remember the Ark?
I like my arc better.
That's okay.
I really want it because to have the position he had with the State Department, you have to do such intense psyche evals to get a job like that. And this is clearly a mentally unstable individual.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, did
PTSD in Vietnam or...
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it doesn't matter. He needs to be in jail.
Yeah.
And I hope he's being tortured. But I'm just saying, there seems to be a mental piece missing from this story that I'm curious about.
I think that anyone who considers possessions more valuable than lives, no matter whose life it is, something seriously is wrong
Mentally
with that
wrong.
person.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, it's just the...
$10,000, you don't take the life of someone.
Also, like, you've got surveillance. Film them breaking in, turn it over to the cops,
And
like, whatever.
That's the most confusing thing, is that he said that every time he left his house, he was being robbed.
Right. So...
That's fucking bullshit.
Right.
Or else he would have evidence. And there is security footage of this actual event happening, the 2 breaking into his house. If that had happened before, they had broken into his house before.
Yeah.
That had happened. I'm not denying that. But if the month previous they hadn't captured images of the 2 yet, something went wrong. Something is very wrong with him.
Yeah, he was, like, looking for a reason to kill people.
Awful situation.
So at one point, it looks like there was the possibility of a mistrial.
So because witnesses weren't being sequestered appropriately or something like that?
Perhaps, but that didn't happen. He's still in jail, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was last March.
Okay, good.
Maybe this year I'll try stuffing. Did I try stuffing last year?
How can you even fucking talk about that right now? I'm so depressed now.
I warned you several times at the intro of this program, Kelly.
I know.
If you like our show and want to help us make it even better, grab something spooky at shop.frightday.com. It's the holiday season, folks. Pins, patches, t-shirts. Oh, and that Black Friday sale. What was our promo code? Turkey...
Month?
Must have been, right?
I don't remember.
If not, it's also that.
I'm going to go watch Noah.
Oh, God. We'll be talking Noah before you know it. Where are you going to be?
At Kelly Frightday on Twitter. Or you can email me with a happier Thanksgiving story, kelly@frightday.com.
And I'm at Byron McKoy on Twitter and Instagram, byron@frightday.com. That's my email address. And until next Frightday, I'm Byron.
I'm broken, Kelly.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You've been listening to an Audio Wool original, produced by Byron McKoy, theme music provided by Cemeteries. For more programs like this, visit audiowool.co.